I would like to ask you at first, what is your name and your age?
Well, my name is Benjamin Wolte and I'm 19 years old.
And what are you doing?
Right now I'm still a school student. I'm going to get my graduation next year.
Okay, very good. And how do you move in your daily life in the city and in the surrounding of the city?
Usually in the morning when I have to go to school, I'm taken by my mother by car to the city. If I am in the city and have to move from one place to another one, I usually walk by feet. Here in Wismar it's possible, it's a small city, so without any problems. But if I have to go home after school, it's often the case that the bus times are very variable. They are not close together, they're much more far-light. It's like if I finish at 6:50, my bus is going at 16. Well, that means 4 p.m.
So
My
you
bus
have
is
to
going
wait a lot
for
of
2
time.
hours. Yeah, that's far too much.
Okay.
I don't like it a lot.
Yes.
And the biggest problem, if I want to go to the city at the weekend, the buses are going every third hour. And if I want to get home after 20 o'clock, it's even impossible because the last bus is going at 7:45 or something. So if I stay longer, my mother has to pick me up.
Okay. And what would be your wishes to make it easier for you or for young people in general to be mobile here in the city and in the region?
Well, the problems about moving here in Wismar, they are not much, but they are few. The first is the times the bus is going or not going. More the not going times are the problem, especially as I said in the afternoon, in the evening times. After, well, I say 8 o'clock, you can't get home anyway if you live outside the city, in the countryside. The second problem is the decreasing price. In the last 4 years, the price increased from 150 to 270. You see, for students, it might be a problem to pay it.
Yeah.
It might be.
Yeah. Okay.
So, for make it better, at first, the times have to be. The bus have to go more often, as well as the price have to decrease. It must be cheaper. Another problem, if we come into the city by car as family, we often don't find a place to put the car and then walk by feet. So there need to be more place for the cars if we have to put them somewhere.
Okay. And what do you think about special tickets for school students or for young people? That is less expensive than for everybody else who's working?
Well, that would be perfect, because then we could just go and leave when we want.
Yeah. So maybe we could suggest it to the public transport or to the administration.
It's a very well idea. Well, there are some on the in one school is working with the bus organization here in Wismar, but the organization only take one school. Here in Wismar we have far more. We got 5 schools all in all. So what should the rest 4 to do?
Yeah.
And the students.
Okay.
It's I think kind of unfair.
Yeah. Okay. And if you think into the future and your mobility, what ideas do you have, or how do you imagine the mobility of young people in the future?
Bike, bus, but seldom car. Especially students, if they go to university or to vocational school, they use very much bikes. But there are sometimes the problems in bigger cities that the bikes have to go on the streets. The streets are too full of cars. So we might do something against that car problem inside of the city or the smaller towns.
Or make it more safe also
More safer.
to be on the bike.
That's depending on the car driver and the bike driver. So there is.
Or sometimes there are separate bayways or bicycle ways.
Yeah, I saw them.
Maybe that's
sometimes in Berlin.
Better.
But I also saw cars parking on that places, on that special bikeways.
Okay.
So the way can't be used by bikes.
Yeah, okay. That's a problem.
That's the problem, right?
Yeah.
So either having that bikeways or place for parking cars.
Yeah. And if you could change something in the transport system here in the city, what would you like to change?
I could change the first times, how often the bus is going a day. For example, the first bus going to my home is 6 in the morning, the last around about 8 in the evening. What should people do who are on party or something similar, going to watching a movie in the cinema or also sleep in the refueling station or something? That's not a good idea. So just making the times more often.
Okay.
And maybe don't change the plans for the transporting buses so often. In the last 4 years they changed it 2 times. That's kind of inconvenience for all people who use those buses.
Yeah, I understand.
Because they have to reorganize themselves and themselves daily.
Yeah. Okay. And what do you think? Would you like to be more involved in the transport planning system?
Well, at first I would like to be involved because we never get asked about the system. Here in Wismar I never heard about a questionnaire or something similar. I just get told, okay, the bus plans change, so you have to work with it, deal with it. And I always think, oh crap, come on guys, seriously.
So if you would be asked from the transport department, you would appreciate it?
I would appreciate it very, very much.
Okay. And what other ideas or proposals do you have to participate as young people in the planning system? What methods or do you think could be good?
Good question. Very good question.
So maybe questionnaire or workshop where you can go.
Ideas for transporting ways, because as well as some villages here in the countryside aren't even reached by the buses.
Yeah.
So kind of calling buses for those villages, if there are enough people for filling one bus off, it would be a good
Maybe
idea.
also to start the communication with young people.
Well, especially
because it's not yet so much, I think, communication to the costumers.
The costumers. It would may decrease the problems of arguing, especially against the bus organizations.
Hello. My name is Petra. What is your name and your age?
My name is Paul and I'm 14 years old.
We will talk about the mobility in the cities, and now I will ask you some questions. How do you move in your daily life in the city?
Mostly I'm using the bike or sometimes the bus if I have to go longer distances.
And what problems do you have if you want to be mobile in the city?
Yeah, the buses don't drive very often, especially at night time.
Okay, I know this problem. And if you think on your daily ways and your means of transport, what wishes do you have to make it easier for young people to move without the car in the city?
Yeah, the bike ways are very old and could be reconstructed, and the buses should drive more often in the evening and in the night time.
And how do you imagine the mobility of the future in the cities?
Yeah, I think that more vehicles will drive with electrical engine.
And if you could change the transport system here in your city, what would you like to change?
I wish more separated bike ways in the city to make it more safe for young people for not being so close by the cars.
And would you like to be more involved in urban transport planning processes?
Yes, if I have time. I would prefer afternoon for meetings and other events.
Okay. And how do you think the young people could be more involved in the transport planning system?
Yeah, I think that the bike race in the area around schools should be better.
And would you like to participate in a youth summer camp with other young people from Poland and Lithuania in the summer of the next year to think about future mobility of young people?
Yeah, why not?
What is your name and your age?
My name is Elena and I'm 18 years old.
And what is your profession?
I'm a student right now.
And how do you move in your daily life here in the city of Greifswald?
So I live in a village very near to the city and usually I go by bike. But sometimes I also go by bus or by car.
Okay. And if you move in the city, what problems do you have in your daily life?
So when I go by bike, I'm of course dependent on the weather conditions. So if it's rainy or very windy, it's not that comfortable to go by bike. And if I go by bus, I'm not that flexible, so I sometimes have to wait for the bus or to walk.
Okay. And if you think on your daily ways and your means of transport, what wishes do you have to make it easier for young people to be mobile without a car here in the city?
I think firstly there have to be proper bicycle ways and sidewalks to create a safe traffic situation, so the people are motivated to go by bike or to walk. And then I think it would be good to lower the prices for public transport because they are quite high right now.
Okay. And how do you imagine the mobility of the future in the city?
Well, I think there will be less cars in the city centers, and maybe there will be some new vehicles like some solar-powered trams or trains.
And if you could change the transport system here in the city, what would you change?
I think I would like to have buses coming more often and to have better connections to the surrounding villages and to cut down the prices.
And would you like to be more involved in the transport planning system here of the city of Greifswald?
Yeah, I think it would be good if there were some surveys to find out how people think about the public transport.
And how do you think the young people could be involved in this transport planning system?
Maybe through those surveys, and then there could be some school projects. So we could do some study trips to the public transport in the city.
We must think about what's happening around us. We must care about the place we live in. Environment is a part of our life. But do people pay enough attention to keep in the good condition? Are we conscious how huge role it plays in our lives? Protecting environment means huge expenses for country, but people prefer to live in argument with environment. Any actions with aim of improving it will be approved and praised. Nevertheless, not everyone would back it up, and dissatisfaction of part of society is unavoidable. Knowing this, we should persuade people to use their cars less, to walk and ride a bike. It will also do a lot of good for their health. In conclusion, I think protection environment and staying in touch with nature makes life more valuable and lets the life completely happens.
I love Szczecinek. This is my town and I care about it. Of course, some things I like more, some less, and there are few which I don't like at all. When I ride my bike in the park, looking and the like, I would like it to be more beautiful than it is, and I'd like to keep it clean. I know that a lot was done in previous years. Everyone can say it. When I talk to my friends, most of them admit it. What worries us is future. What will we do, economy, environment? Not everyone, but some of us would like to have a say in what happens in our town. We have our ideas and solutions. We would like them to be heard and discussed. Sometimes I wonder why this or that is done in such a strange way when the simplest way is obvious to me. Maybe a fresh look would be of value.
Transport is important for you.
Because I use it to come home from school and reach other places almost every day.
What would you like to be changed or implemented in Klaipeda bus system?
It would be nice in the old buses would be changed by new ones.
How do you imagine Klaipeda public transport in the future?
All new and fast electricity-powered vehicles with no noise, dust and pollution. I just think the public transport is an inherent part for young people every day.
What do you think about bikes as a means of transportation in the city?
Bicycles are an economical and ecological way to move in the city. Sometimes it is even faster to move by bike than by car or by bus.
What do you think is important for young people in public transport?
For young people, important are cheap tickets, clean vehicles, and of course no delays.
Do you think it is necessary to consider the needs of young people during transport policy management?
It is necessary because young people will not use public transport in the future if their needs won't be here.
Public transport is important for you.
I believe that our city is not that small, and walking on foot across it would be really hard, even like 2-3 times a day. And public transport solves this problem because we don't have to walk, we can just sit on the bus and drive to our destination.
What is the most important thing in public transport for you and for other young people?
I believe it's cheap tickets, because for us young people, we don't have to worry about finding a seat to sit, and not spending a fortune on our way back home is a really good thing.
I think it is important to consider the need of young people in public transport policy management.
Yes, indeed, because the majority of public transport users are young people, because older adults have cars, and considering our opinion is really a need.
Are you satisfied with the current situation in Klaipeda? Can you give us some good or bad examples?
Yes, I'm pretty happy with it. There could be some improvements, like having all the buses arriving at their stops at the exact time they should, not earlier, not sooner. But it's a really small thing, and I believe it's pretty good.
What do you think of bicycles as a means of transportation?
I think that if you have good tracks to ride a bicycle in the city, it's really useful, because if you don't, you have to go through all the pedestrians, and it's really hard. So if the conditions are good, I would really encourage young people to ride a bike.
What would you like to be improved in the Klaipeda public transport system?
I believe that every young people, as they get older, they spend more and more time in the city center in the late hours, and having more buses later in the day would really help us. Young people is future of every system in the world. Public transport is not an exception, and educating them about it and also learning from them what could be improved is very important.
I think public transport is important.
Well, public transport is very important because we use it every day. For example, I myself using it every day to get back from school, meeting with my friends, or just use it to ride somewhere to an appointment.
And what do you think is the most important thing in public transport for young people such like you?
The most important thing for young people, I think it would be the convenience of public transport, the possibility of traveling whenever you want, wherever you want, and that's it.
Satisfied with the current situation of public transport in your city?
I think yes, the transport is truly good. It is expanding throughout the city. Buses are big, and I think it's perfect.
What would you like to be changed in the system of transport in Klaipeda?
I think there are many mornings, many days when people are driving with buses to jobs, works, or school, and the buses are full of people. They are crowded. There are too much of people in there, and I think there should be more buses during rush hours, during mornings or evenings.
How do you see Klaipeda's public transport in the future?
I think Klaipeda's transport will be more expanded. Of course, it will be modern with all conveniences, maybe included with internet connection in the bus, and I think it would be great.